Welcome, my name is Denise Yezbak Moore. Today we're going to talk a little bit about wire wrapping, making wire wrap chains, and the types of wire you can use to create these chains. The tools you will need to create wire wrap chains are round nose pliers. These are Lindstrom wire cutters, chain nose pliers. You will need beads. These are check glass fire polished beads from howcraftcollection.com. The size depends on the look you're going for. If you want a dainty look, these are 4mm Amazonite beads. The beads here are carnelian. They are about 8mm. And you will need wire. This is all gold tone craft wire. The higher the number of the wire, for example, this one is 26 gauge, the thinner the wire. So this one's 26 gauge, 24 gauge, 22 gauge, 20 gauge, 18 gauge. The lower we go, the bigger the wire gets. I think the sweet spot for making wire wrap chains are between 22, 24, and 26 gauge. I have two different examples here of wire wrap chain. This one is connected together. This one is wire wrapped individually and connected using a jump ring to create a different look. You can use a bigger jump ring or a smaller jump ring. It's a design choice. Since I'm using these bigger 12mm check glass beads, I'm going to use 22 gauge wire. When I measure my wire to create a wrapped loop, my finger length is about 3 inches. Yours may be different. I'm going to go just below that and trim my wire. Now we're going to come in and we are going to form a wrapped loop. If you start your wrap loop here, the loop at the top is going to be small. If you start it here, the loop is going to be big. You need to adjust your wire accordingly, depending on how big you want your loop to be. So I want my loop to be right about there. So I'm going to move down and I'm going to bend my wire back, move the pliers up, bend the wire towards me, move the pliers to the side, bend the wire back, and we are going to switch hands and we are going to wrap one. And as I'm wrapping, I'm not pulling the wire towards me. I'm more pulling it to the top. So 2, 3. And we are going to remove it. And we're going to trim off that little end. I like to flatten out my loops and tap that little wire down so there are no sharp edges. Now we're grabbing our 12mm check glass bead, which can be found on howcraftcollection.com. I move that bead down. I'm grabbing my round nose pliers, placing it right about there. The loops will be facing the same way. We're going to bend the wire back, move the pliers up, bend the wire towards you, move the pliers to the side, bend the wire back, and we're going to flip it around, and we are going to wrap 1, 2, 3. We're going to remove it. Trim that little end. We're going to flatten our loop and tap that wire down so there are no sharp edges. Now we're going to form a partial wrapped loop to connect to the previous loop. So I just cut a approximately 3.5 inch length of 22 gauge wire. This is a larger wire. as I said before. This one's 26 gauge. We're going to go down to right about there. We're going to bend the wire back, move the pliers up, bend the wire towards you, move the pliers to the side, bend the wire back, take it off, just open it just a tiny little bit. And then we're going to attach it. And we're going to grab our round nose pliers, and that's going to close that down. We're going to switch hands. Sometimes you have to make a little bit of an adjustment, and you're going to wrap 1, 2, 3, and we're going to remove it. Trim off that little end. And I always like to flatten my loops. And of course, we have to tap that little wire down. So there are no sharp edges. So let's pick up another check glass bead, and we're going to string that down. And we're going to pick up our round nose pliers again. On the bigger wire, usually I put my pliers all the way to the end. But on the bigger wire, if you do that, you can only get 2 loops. So I move up just a tiny, tiny little bit so I can get 3 loops so that they're equal on each end. And then we're going to bend the wire back, move the pliers up, bend the wire towards you, move the pliers to the side, bend the wire back, and I'm lining up my loop, and I'm just switching hands and grabbing my chain nose pliers, and I'm wrapping 1, 2, 3. We're going to take it off. Trim off that little end. We're going to come back in. We're tapping those wires down and flattening our loop. And that is how you make a chain that is connected together like this Amazonite chain. To create this beaded chain look, you're going to go through and you are going to make a bunch of wire wraps just individually. Now you're going to come in and you're going to pick up a jump ring size of your choice. This particular jump ring is 6 millimeters. This is how you open and close a jump ring. You never pull it apart. You would just open it, come over, attach, and close the jump ring to create the beaded chain. Once you get to the end of your chain, you can use a jump ring to attach your clasp like I did with this one. You can also use a jump ring to attach a pendant to the center of it. And there you have it, a super quick little video to show you how to create 2 different types of wire wrap chain. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you are watching on YouTube, please be sure to check out some of my other videos. I have some really good tips and tricks on there. If you're on Instagram, follow me on Instagram at Denise Yezbak Moore. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you next time.